All right, cool. And we are live. Okay. Everybody can see my screen.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see it.
Cool. Well, welcome to the party. So as you guys know, anytime you step into the markets, you should be able to, first make sure that or create our story, I guess we'll say. So does anybody know the components of the story? All right. Anytime you come into the market, you have to be able to tell yourself a story. And that story has 3 parts. I've been talking about it for like the last 2 weeks. Nah, nobody.
Repeat that again. I'll go and hear you.
Got you. Anytime you're in the market, you need to be able to tell yourself a story. The story has 3 components. So there's 3 questions that story poses that you have to be able to answer. What are those 3 questions?
What happened?
Okay, so we'll call that, where did we come from?
Where are we now?
Where are we now?
Where are we going?
Where are we going?
Where could we potentially go?
Yeah.
Right? So if you can answer the first 2 questions, you can get a good idea of the answer to the last question.
And then so, how is the market trying to fuck out everybody else?
Let's stick to the topic. All right. So, right, that wasn't one of the 3 questions we're asking. Not at the moment, anyways. Right. So first question, where do we come from? So in order to do that, let's check our daily real quick. If we look at our daily chart, and mine is I'm keeping my levels though, so you guys are gonna have to just look through them, right? But as we can see, we're still in this channel on the daily. All right, we've had quite a few interactions with it over the last few days, but as you can see, we have not been able to break that channel and close above it except for 1111. And so we know, okay, so we're still kind of hanging around the top of this channel, right, with the potential to try and break out of it. But if we're going to do that, we need to clear like that 40-20 area, and then of course we could break down again like we did yesterday as well. If we get under around this 39.50 zone. I already have these levels marked, but if I didn't have these levels marked, I'd definitely be marking them. This 39.43 level, because that's the low of day, and then this 39.93 level, which is previous supply, as you can see, right? We have 1, 2, a wick, right? So we have 2 bodies and 2 wicks that have closed at this level. So you're going to want to pay attention to 92 and definitely want to pay attention to 43. Now let's move into the 1 hour, right? Usually I'll go for my daily and just make sure I kind of have levels or anything I might need. Go into my 1 hour, do the same thing. And the thing I like about the 1 hour is a lot of times you can get, right, we can see here on this hourly chart, we actually have a pretty clear trend line here as well. Right, which also makes sense of why we had a bounce here and why we're currently having a bounce here, knowing that, okay, we came down, interacted with this trend line, and now we're trying to get a little bounce off of it. This hourly trend line is going to be important because once again, if we break an hourly trend line, it's going to have a lot more weight behind it, I guess you'll say, than like a 5-minute chart or something like that. And then lastly, let's get our trend line at the top. 1, 2, 3, and then these touches here. All right, so what that gives us is an hourly structure. Anybody know what this structure is called?
Is that a rising wedge?
Good job. Rising wedge. Okay. Now when you look at this structure, right, we expect rising wedges to break to the downside. And then of course we know if that rising wedge can't break to the downside and comes back up, we could expect it to even go parabolic potentially. But this gives us a good understanding of those 2 original questions, right? Like, where did we come from and where are we now? And then of course, the last question is where could we potentially go? On this hourly chart, we kind of see our structure here, right? So we can once again confirm a move over 93 could potentially go test our top channel. Now, once again, a move under outside of this trend line, which would be around 67, right? Could take us down into these 50s, potentially in these 21s. So let's hit up our 5 minute and let's see what we're looking like. I don't know how to mute that. I'm sorry. I don't even know what notification that is. It's just going off like crazy. All right, so then we see, and now when we look into our 5 minute, does this picture look a lot clearer for you guys?
Definitely.
All right, and it's all just because right before anything, I need to answer those questions, right? Because if I don't have answers to those questions, I might be at a disadvantage in the markets. Okay, cool. So seeing this structure and everything that we've discussed, right? We're looking at our RSI on the 5 minute. It's really close to being oversold as we're breaking this trend line here. So if I'm right, we scalp, we day trade, right? So what might we be looking for right here? Right. Well, now we have to answer that last question. Where could we go? Right. We looked at our larger time frames, got to see, kind of what those options look like. Now we're on our 5 minute chart. And right, we got one more question to answer. Where could we go? So if I was going to put a trade together with the information that we just gathered, just from looking at our daily, looking at our hourly, getting this structure, and now seeing this structure where we are and things like that, what might I look to be doing?
Look for a reversal, like a bounce off that bottom trend line.
Or a break and retest.
There we go, right? We're either going to bounce, right, on this level here,
Mhm.
or break, potentially retest, right? And that retest could get us back in here, or that retest could move us
Go down to like 39.51.
right? And then even the same with this, right? We could bounce and then on this retest, right, come back down, right? And then go up or down, right? But now it's
Or
like,
go to the upper trend line.
boom, exactly, right? And if we do bounce up, especially if we can clear this, like the middle of this range, then we'll probably get to the upper half of it. Exactly. So, right. So this is me putting like, okay, like once you get to a certain place in your analysis, the only thing that's left is kind of the potentials of what could happen, right? We could break, retest, break. We could bounce, retest, bounce, right? We could retest and flush. We could retest and actually make it back in, right? And that gives us kind of, I guess you could say, a little bit more understanding of the outcomes, right? We can't control the outcomes in trading, but we can definitely seek to understand them better, right? So that we can make, what we feel is the best decision in taking a trade. So you guys know I love a specific strategy in the markets right now, and that's our 5 minute close, right? Looking for 5 minute closes outside of structures, right? So you'll see here that we have gotten a 5 minute close outside of the structure before, led to us coming back into it. Got a 5 minute close again, led to a retest and a slight drop outside of it before we came back in. Right. So we know that this level is defended. So if we're looking at this price action on the day so far, all right, we flushed from the top of this range to the bottom of it. We just had a 5 minute close outside. Right. So we can consider this candle that's forming right now in the 5 minute what's the word I'm looking for? If you break it up, boom, right? A retest. Right. So it's going to be really important to watch this retest. Right. Knowing that we got oversold on the 5 minute, that means we were definitely oversold on the 1 minute. We're at the bottom of a range, right? So we could infer, right? Okay, there's a high probability that since we're oversold while breaking this, that we could potentially bounce, right? And, maybe have to go retest if we're going to flush. Now we don't know what the market's going to do. We don't know when the market's going to do it. So all we can do is prepare, So we at least have some really good levels here, right? To say, okay, we broke this 67 level, right? So when I see something close like this, I might either one, keep watching for bearish reversal, or watch for a close under a recent level that's really close to the current level, right? So in this case, we had a 5-minute close here. As you can see, bulls have come back in, so there's no real signal to enter. But if we can right, start closing underneath this trend line, it might be our move to, go from 67 to that 60 range, potentially even down to these 50s here and flush out. And so let's look for contracts. Somebody please mute yourself if you're talking in the background. All right, so next up, we need our contracts. What's our rules for contracts?
We want a healthy delta.
What is a healthy delta?
And let's see, 0.10 or more.
Right. And ideally, we want to get, something a little bit healthier than 0.10, right? Because 0.10 we know is going to move the least on this.
And then -1 on the theta.
Step, and then our negative, at least -1 on the theta. All the negative 0.10s have the low theta, so that's good. So let's say these. I like to get put contracts and call contracts, just so now that I've kind of done that analysis and I know the answer to that final question. Now it's like I want to get contracts that can, take advantage of the movement as it happens. So usually once I find a contract I like that 0.20, I'll add that and add a couple contracts around it. Usually I'll do the same for the puts, and I like to have those in my watch list if I'm trading on desktop. Usually I take trades on my phone. So
Can I ask a question about that?
sure.
So if you are playing the same ticker over and over and over throughout the day, and you may take up to, let's say, 5 trades, maybe 8, depending on however you're doing it, and those are all of the contracts you have to work with, do you look at them from a strategy standpoint and say, okay, if I use this one, this 0.20 that you have right there, later on in the day, I'm going to have to either pick, so that's that 39.35. If I pick the 39.35 first, and then you're going to make extra plays during the day, do you try to, I'm trying to find the right words, do you try to kind of strategize around which ones you're going to use, knowing that the ticker is going to move, or possibly is going to move in a particular direction? Or do you just constantly just go back to, do you kind of get where I'm saying, or not really?
So for me, as long as I have, that like 0.20 delta, 0.15 delta, like I said, try and stay away from just 0.10s. Right?
Mhm.
But then it doesn't really matter. Right.
Okay.
Sometimes during the day, I'll take the same contracts a couple times, trading them. Other times I might take one contract, and then that contract might start to get low on delta. So I'll go find another contract to bring it in.
Okay.
So either one. But majority of my trades are scalps. All of my trades are scalps. Pretty
Yeah.
much. So it's like I'm not really formulating the plan of, okay, like in 2 hours, which is this contract still going to be good? Because there's like a 0% chance I'll still have that same exact contract in 2 hours. Does that make sense?
So it makes sense, I guess, because I play SPY.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm like you just mentioned, I'm having to go on the same contract more than once to try to get some juice out of it.
Mhm.
And so for me, it can be hard to remember, okay, well, did you make money on this one or did you not? Okay, well, if you go in on it again, so I'm just like, well, maybe I just need to pick different ones. So I was just wondering if there was just maybe a different strategy that you could suggest.
No, a lot of
about-
times, yeah, a lot of times, let's be real. It's not as long as you're, especially in SPY, right? And let's just look at SPY real quick just to give a reference. Okay, there we go. All right, so right, you'll see here with SPY, right? Even if we took the same logic of 0.10 delta,
Mhm.
right, that still put us, I mean, that's going to put us in $20 contracts. Right, and then it's the same for, right, so this is telling you, right, delta wise, right, okay, for every dollar that SPY moves, this contract will move 10 cents or 11 bucks pretty much, right? So for every dollar it moves, this 22, if this moves a dollar down, this is going to be 33 or 34, right, or whatever it is, right, depending on, you know, the movement of the ticker. So I recommend, if you're playing SPY, don't be any farther than like a 0.3 delta. There's really
Okay.
no reason to, because you're, you know, that's the reason why you're playing SPY, right? You're looking for something a little bit less taxing, but you don't want to go so much less taxing that you spend a little and make a little
Yeah.
all the time.
All right. That's super
And you're
helpful.
going to start thinking that something's wrong with your strategies when really it's just you're taking the cheapest contracts possible. Of course, you're not gonna, you know, it's gonna take a very violent move for the cheapest contracts possible to, you know, like this $20 contract to be worth, you know, a dollar, 20-cent contract, I'm sorry, to be worth $1. All right, it's gonna take a lot more to do that for me to get $1 on this 23-cent contract than it will for me to make $1 on like a 75-cent or an 82-cent contract. Does that make
Gotcha.
sense?
Yeah, that does. Thank you so much. That's super
Yeah.
helpful.
Right. So something, yeah, I've heard the term I made lunch money, right? You usually end up making lunch money with, you know, like cheap drive-through contracts equal cheap drive-through lunch, right? Like, you know, you might spend more money on a nice lunch, right? But you'll probably get more out of it. Right? It might be, you might impress your lady a little bit more, like, oh, this isn't McDonald's. You're right.
Especially on those 0 DTEs.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with when you're dealing with certain things like theta working against you, right? And the fact that the market isn't really like sustaining moves. Even sustained moves aren't sustained. You know what I mean? It's like very rare that we're getting like, usually there's a sustained segment in the markets day to day, right? Sustained segments. Okay, there was a bullish trend and then it broke, and then there was a bearish trend and then it broke, and then there was, right, so it's, you know, more like that than anything actually trending for the whole day in a certain direction. It's just not the kind of market we're in right now. And so if I'm going to take advantage of scalping, I need the contracts that are going to move healthily in the couple of minutes that I have them. And I was talking about this a lot yesterday. I don't know if you guys are paying attention to the feed, but we were talking about delta calculations, right? And
Algo, we got a move happening. Check your charts.
oh, it's okay. We'll find, we always have moves, right? We were not worried about catching a move. Free yourself from I need to catch everything. You will catch exactly what you deserve. And so, you know, we were talking about that delta calculation because I think that's important. It's to know, you know, kind of what my goal is per trade, right? Who can tell me like what their goal is per trade?
15%.
Okay, 15%. What contracts do you usually buy to make 15%? Around how much do you spend on a contract? Just one.
I can't answer that. I just kind of play it by ear.
Anybody else have an answer?
Lately, it's just be green.
Yeah, for me, it's like
No, nobody has a set goal.
10% is kind of like where I first trim and then just go from there.
Okay, 10% of what? How much do you put in per trade?
On average, I do like about 1,000 per trade.
Okay, 1,000 per trade. Okay, so your goal is to make $100.
Yep. And if I do it 5 times, 500.
Okay, cool. So what you can do with that is you can put that into a I guess you could call it like a delta equation, right? So let's say, okay, I spend about $1,000 per per time I buy it, right? So let's say I buy some two contracts that are worth about $500. Right. Well, here I can look at the delta on these contracts, right? So let's say like this 0.25 delta right here. Okay, so delta, the definition of delta is per dollar that the stock moves, how much the contract will move. Okay, so if I have two contracts that are 0.25 delta, how many points do I need the SPX to move to make $100 on these contracts that I have highlighted right here?
$5.
Nah. Two contracts at 0.25 delta. So each dollar that SPX moves, I would make 0.25 delta per contract. So I would make $50 if SPX moved
For
down.
every dollar move.
Yeah. So how many points do I need SPX to move to make $100 on this trade?
2.
Are you guys following me with this?
Yep.
Okay, let's take another example. Let's say, give me another, and by the way, you guys should know how much you spend per trade. That should be a very clear, damn near precise number. If you are doing I'm gonna spend $200 this trade, or I'm gonna spend $80 this trade, or I'm gonna spend $600 this trade, or I'm gonna spend $200 this trade. If you're doing that, you're trading wrong. You're gonna mess up your P&L. Because, right, let's say you finally decide to go hard in the paint, and then that's the one that claps you. But then you went little, and that's the one that actually makes the move you needed. All right, you're taking a bigger loss on that random occurrence, right? And then a smaller gain on that random occurrence because you're being random. And so what I recommend, any of these put contracts have blown up, but what I recommend is find a number. Use that number. If you have a hard time finding a number, decide what you usually want to lose per trade and only use that money. Right. So if you're like, I spent 1,000, but usually I'm only willing to lose 200. Use 200. Don't use 1,000. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Gotcha. But everybody should have a exact number they spend per trade. That can't just be a random thing. That depends on how I feel. Feelings get you clapped in the market. So if you haven't figured that out by now, make sure you do. Deal?
Gotcha.
Okay, cool. So let's say I spend $600 per contract, right? But I look to, or sorry, per trade that I take. Okay, and I'm looking to make $100. Right, so I could maybe take one of these. How many points would SPX need to move for me to make $100 on these 39.80s? If I took one contract.
4.
Boom, $4 moves. Why? Because that would be 25, 50, 75, 100, right? So this would gain $1 on it. Now, the beautiful part about delta is that as the move is going in your direction, the delta increases, as you can see. Right, so as the move's going in your favor, your delta is usually going to actually start to pump more, which will put more onto your contracts quickly.
So you'll need a lower move to make the same money.
As the move is going in your favor, right? And this is why I tend to take profits quicker, because I want to take profits on that delta pump, because if a reversal happens, right, delta's going to go right back away, right? And all that it gave is now going to get hit at that 0.44, 0.39, right? Until it's back to where it was or further. And so I always take that into consideration. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Gotcha. So one key thing that I would recommend you guys do is turn your percentages, right? Oh, I'm looking for like 10%. Turn that into a number per contract that you're buying. And it's going to make things a lot smoother for you guys when you're in contracts and looking to take trades and really looking to make sure you take profit on trades, right? And it's a very simple equation, right? Okay, if I put in $1,000, all right, that can get me 2 of these. What's my goal? Well, usually I like to make 10% on my $1,000. Okay, so I need $100. All right, so I'm gonna do these 0.25 contracts right here. All right, and I'm gonna I just need 2 points on it, right? I'm gonna take these 0.20 contracts and I just need 5 points. Right. And then how much more conscious are you when you see SPX now, you know you need 5 points, and SPX since entry has moved down 3.5 or 4 points. They're probably going to be quicker to take profits, right? Or quicker to make sure you secure that. 'Cause you're like, okay, I needed 5. I'm at 4. I'm at 3.5. All right, cool. All right. And so it's just going to help you guys, you know, like your edge matters, of course, but you know, your edge, the way you're viewing what you're doing matters a little bit more, right? And being able to conceptualize what you actually need to right, to reach your goal. Because just buying a contract, closing your eyes and say, I hope I get 10%. It's like, no, on this specific contract, it needs to move exact, you know, SPX needs to move this exact many points for me to hit my goal on these contracts. All right, and you can do that with your delta and making sure, of course, you pick healthy contracts at first, and then from there, you know, you at least have your metrics of what you need out of the markets, because the market's gonna, a lot of times the market gives you what you need, you just didn't know you needed it, right? And so you're like, ooh, right? And then you're like, oh, let's see if the market gives me more, because I have no gauge of what more or less or what I'm looking for actually is. Right. And then the market tends to do wild things and take that which it gave back away. All right. So let's get back to our chart now. We have our we're going to need to get new contracts actually, because our puts blew up, but it's all good. But we can see what that signal did for us, right? 5-minute close outside. And what did we say? All right. We talked about all the different options that we could have, right? But it's including the one when we bounced, tried to retest and came back up and flushed, which is exactly the one that happened. All right, so and this is kind of my point, right? Once you answer those first 2 questions, well, that final question of where could we go becomes a lot easier to answer, just because you already know the first 2 questions. Just real quick, let's look at this on the 1-minute chart and kind of see how this price action manifested, because it's probably a pretty nice move. Okay, so this was our 5-minute close outside of the trend line here, and then we had a we were oversold at that time, right? Anytime on the 1-minute oversold, we're always looking for a bounce. Boom, got your bounce on that 1 minute oversold. Okay, came back, right? And then you had buyers try and hold this trend line, and then you officially had a close outside of it here. Right, and then that led you to these lower levels, right? So it's a very clean setup. Once again, what we're looking for is always the initial trigger, which is your 5-minute close outside of a structure or a trend line, or a it can even be a level that you've identified, right? We got that there. All right, so that was our trigger. Now we don't enter just blindly on the trigger. Right. Once again, I think we talked about it. Yeah, we talked about it this morning, right? Knowing that this level was here, and we talked about how it may be good to wait for a close under 39.67. Got that close under 39.67. That gave you a flush to 54. Right. So you got a good like 13 points out of that. If you were to take entry on that. That was when you tried to stop me, huh, J-Star? Hey, a move's happening.
I did.
It's all good. Cool. So now we left to look at this, and is there any other clues we can have to be able to answer those 3 questions now that this move has happened? And usually when you're doing this, you're going to look for maybe another structure to identify, or another you know, specific level, right? We see how our 39.54 or 55 level got defended here. Right, so we know that's going to be a strong level, but anything else we can put onto our charts that maybe,
And that's the 161.8 too.
yeah.
So now would you be looking to go back up into the fib, like the 61 or the 50, or just kind of waiting and see what happens?
You see what I did on my chart? Yes, I can see my screen.
Yeah.
Yep. This is exactly what I would do. Right? So a question, right? We've had a question posed with this this huge structure that we had, right? That structure, since it's broken and we fleshed out of it, right? But I have to be able to still answer the question of, okay, where are we and where could we possibly go? Right? The market can usually tends to give you clues into this, but once again, you have to be willing to continuously be drawing trend lines, continuously be looking for structures in the markets. And yeah, we can clearly see that we have like a falling channel here, a falling wedge of sorts.
Yep.
Right. So this is our next structure that the market is focused on. Right. The initial structure on the day, and I'll pull us back real quick. Right. We found this on the hourly chart, was this huge rising wedge. Right. Since then, right, the question of where are we now? You know, yeah, where are we? The second question, right, got answered. We fell out of the wedge. Right. Okay. Now where are we out of the wedge, right? And now this can help you put together more trading areas, right? Because if we break the wedge to the upside and then break this level right here, what do you think we're gonna do? Try and travel back into this structure. All right. If we can't hold this wedge, then we run the risk of falling to the bottom of this wedge, like we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times already, right? And we could put together a play that says, okay, we could come and test these levels down here, which is consistent with the wedge's trend.
Ah, crap, I gotta go to work.
Put
I'm
you right.
Oops.
Right, put you right at 39. But hopefully you learned. I know we haven't taken any trades yet, but it's the right. Like if you have the logic, then taking trades becomes the easy part, because once again, I can answer any questions that I have. I can get a great idea of where we are in the markets, and then at any time I can just look for the actionable signal the market gives me. So
Yeah, I was already short NASDAQ on a prop account.
oh, okay, good man, good man.
So pulled 800.
There we go. There we go. He's like,
But-
I ain't gonna miss that move.
Now I was in that from
This works-
early.
Yeah, and this is a price action strategy, so it works really well with like futures trading and things like that, because you know it's just basing on price action.
No,
But,
it's definitely helpful.
All right. I don't want to hold.
I got a
you-
haul.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to hold. you.
I could stay here all day doing this.
Man, you and me both.
Thanks, Bailey.
No problem, man.
All right, guys, have a great day.
All right, cool. So now we know, you know, we've identified, okay, we're in this falling wedge here. Once again, we have a 5-minute oversold condition on SPX. Right, so we know where we came from, we know where we are currently, and then we have a great idea of where we could go, right? A close above this 67 of this trend line, I might look to go long. Right, breaking this structure, specifically this 39.54 where we bounce, right? I might look on a move like that to go short. But right now we're kind of in the middle of everything. So would I be looking to take a trade at this exact moment? Nah. All right.
No.
No conditions that are going to get fulfilled at all at this moment. All right. We're not testing this trend line here. We're definitely not testing this trend line here. All right. So as of now, we're going to wait for our next setup. Now, I can say a couple things. Being that we're overbought and oversold, and we've been that way all day, there's a good chance that we could get a pop here. But we'll let the market tell us if that's going to happen. We need some new calls, by the way, so let's go grab those. Any questions? Because I know we've been covering a lot of stuff. No questions. Cool. I must be doing a good job.
I got a question.
Never mind. I wasn't doing it. I'm just kidding. Just
No,
kidding.
you're doing a good
I
job.
know,
I just have a
kidding. I'm completely just kidding.
Okay, so I'm trading SPY and the contract numbers are different than what you're selecting for SPX. So could you help me out and tell me what contracts to pick on SPY? Because the
Okay.
numbers are different.
I'm gonna bring this up and then I'm gonna let you guys answer because we answered that question a little earlier. But that's a pop quiz out of nowhere.
Oh,
Okay,
Lord.
so trading SPY, here's our SPY contracts for 0 day because we're looking to take right intraday moves and things like that. What contracts would we be looking at?
The closest 3 to end the money, either way.
SPY is very simple. One of these 3. No farther than about 3 strikes out the money.
Okay, gotcha.
Very simple for SPY. So SPX, you got to do all the delta, blah, blah, blah. SPY is a little different. Now, of course, you do want to take into account delta, right? And understanding how SPY moves, right? Because in these contracts, every time SPY moves $1 is where I'll make 38 cents or 39 bucks on this contract, right? So I'm buying this contract for $1. I need SPY to move a whole dollar to be at $1.50. Right. So you have to take that into account when you're trading SPY, right? Because I think a lot of you guys will trade SPY and then you'll see like a profit on like an SPX contract, and then you'll see yours and you're like, mine didn't move nothing compared to that. And it's they move differently, right? SPY is a $400 stock versus SPX is a $4,000 stock, right? So it's about 10x difference in the movement that you'll actually see. So with that said, one of the alternatives to trading SPY, if you aren't trying to spend as much on SPX contracts, is to trade XSP, which is the mini SPX index. What this is an exact 10-to-1 derivative, or sorry, 100-to-1 derivative from 10-to-1. I'm sorry, from SPX. So you'll notice a couple things. One, open interest and volume is sometimes a little bit less on these contracts. That is a fact, right? But if you keep the same rule of wanting to be at least a couple strikes from the money, usually you'll be okay in XSP, right? And then of course you can see that's right, some volumes like these call volumes right here, I notice, right, very high. And this is kind of random to have this call volume here. And you notice on the put side, you don't have the same volume. So interesting thing that somebody's betting that we're going to go up, and they're betting on this delta doubling or tripling these contracts really quickly. But what I would be doing, right, is the same thing, like same logic with SPY, where it's like, okay, I'm going to take contracts that are within about 2 or 3 strikes from the money. But look at your delta on these. All right, so your delta will be about 50 cents per dollar move. So it's like, like I said, I tend to like the way these move a little bit better than SPY contracts, just to be honest. But you'll get about the same movement, but it just gives you another alternative. So maybe you're not liking the way SPY contracts are moving or something. You can come to XSP and use contracts from there, but keep the same logic. And of course, once again, you have to consider delta, right? If I want to make $100 on this trade and I take a 0.23 delta, then that means XSP is going to have to move what, $4 up if I take one of these contracts to make $1 on this contract. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Cool. And look what we're getting. So 7:21. So we have 4 minutes left in this candle, but we are getting a break of our 5-minute structure. We're going to wait for this candle to close, but ideally a 5-minute close outside of this structure could potentially take us to retest this trend line here, and then even take us back into the structure itself. So let's watch this 5-minute close. We already got call contracts ready to go if it does. 39.95s look good at the moment. We'll see what happens though. But yeah, 0.16 delta, not too bad. Any questions? Because we got 4 minutes to wait for this, 3 minutes now to wait for this candle to close.
Were you about to mention something about putting your percentage on?
I don't use
Okay.
percentage. I don't really use percentage. For a long time, I traded with percentage, right? Like, okay, I want, this X% or Y%. But I noticed once I started to just break it down and had an understanding, okay, like how much money do I actually want to make on the trade or per trade, right? And then was able to put a plan together based on that worked with my kind of a strategy, right? I know that I scalp, so it's like some little rinky-dink delta ain't gonna do it for my scalps, right? I need to have a powerful contract, right? Delta is power, right? I need to have a powerful contract so that as this move is happening, I can get in and out of it with my profit target. And, you know, ideally, once you can do this equation properly, like it's, you know, you can, and if you have the right edge, like you can almost make your goal, you know, in a very small amount of time, right? If my goal is, you know, like I said, like maybe that 50 cents per contract, and you know, I got 0.25 delta. I need 2 points on a $4,000 stock, right? To get 50 cents per contract. And then, you know, as we've been talking from that, all you do is scale, right? So I go from, instead of taking 2 of those contracts, now I'll take 5 of them, right? Now, you know, as I feel comfortable enough to scale up my my positions, you know, to gain more profit, right? So I think I heard it talked about earlier. It's like, okay, and then all I got to do is do that 5 times. But why not scale that strategy to where you only have to do it once or twice, right? Is that possible using that delta equation and knowing, okay, I'm gonna spend 1,000, I need 100. You know, let me get X contract with Y delta, because I know that's the one where it's not going to take a big move for me to make that $100. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
No problem. And this is just really being more strategic with your contracts and really a better understanding of what each contract entails. Oh, if I take this contract with this delta, that means this. Or if I take this contract with this delta, that means this. And then of course it only makes sense if you're able to apply it to yourself. So super important to just, you know, I think we spent the last like almost 30-40 minutes talking straight up logic. And that's kind of my point. It's like once you have the edge, the shit works. The question is, am I in the right contracts, right? Am I taking the right plays? So we got a 5-minute close outside. What would we be looking for to maybe consider going call side? Now that we have a 5-minute close outside.
Break above that trend line.
A strong move above 39.67.
Right. We could go for 67. We know we have a trend line here though, right? But if 67 to this trend line at 71, it's 4 points. If that can give you the delta, right, with the right delta, if that can give you your profit target that you would need, you can take the trade. Right. If your R&R isn't there with that trade, you can't take the trade. Does that make sense on how now I can apply this to real world? Okay, I see this setup, right? And I need to know if it's something that I should take or not. Well, what would be my entry to my next level, right? Because I'm a scalper. Does that, right? Will that let this delta work for me? If we can get it, right? The answer is yes, cool. The answer is no. Once again, still cool, but you probably shouldn't take that trade. So let's see how price action wants to play out. We definitely got our 5-minute close outside. It looks like and we had created a new trend line on this bullish move as well. Trend line broke, currently liquidating. Looks like we're going to retest. All right, broke out, retest, and then we can see what's going to happen. Side note, if we fall back into this channel right here on a 5-minute close, what do you think the chances are that we can fall down to the bottom of the channel like we've been doing all day?
A decent chance.
All right, so let's just continue to watch price action on the 5-minute. Our 5-minute did get qualified, but it hasn't started, you know, it did nothing that would make us want to enter right on this when we looked at that 1-minute chart, right? We had a trend line broke, it's going, right? Guess I'm not entering on that 5-minute signal. All right, we're gonna wait it out. But this is the importance of waiting for that 5-minute close, right? And then after you wait for your 5-minute close, go in on your 1 minute and make sure is this 1-minute chart, direct price action now impulsing me to even want to get into this or not? Looking at that 1 minute, nothing after that 5 minute close would have made you want to get into that. Now we're getting our retest of this of our channel. So once again, if we fall back into the channel, 5 minute closes inside, we got 3 minutes left. We could potentially see this 50 and even down in this right into these zones here. Now you can take this logic from the 5 minute chart if you do want to play a smaller time frame. Like you can take this logic on a larger time frame too. All right, and just looking for a close at the break of structures. Any kind of time frame you can use to do that. I personally like the 5 minute because it's a little bit stronger. 1 minute chart, you know, those are the weakest candles that you have unless you have like a 30-second chart. And so it's like I want moves that are going to be a little bit more sustained. Usually that'll happen from the 5 minute or above. All right, look at the buyers, right? And it always gets crazy. Like those last couple minutes before the 5 minute closes, that's where shit really happens, right? So if we would have once again just looked at this signal, said, oh, well, we broke back into this channel, I'm going to go puts. Like, no, we wait for our 5 minute close because that's going to tell us if the move is right, it actually has some basis behind it. And it's interesting as you watch the 5 minute more, but you'll see phenomenons like this all the time, right? First 3 to 4 minutes, it's going in the direction. That's where most retail traders get caught. They're like, oh, it's going, it crossed my level, I'm in. And then 30 seconds later, they're dealing with this and watching a contract crush on them because it's 0 day. And then they're like, well, I got to hold. And then the shit breaks all up in here and they're still holding the same contract. It gets bad. Wait for your 5 minute closes. Look at the strength of this, though. See our buyers? What do we say? Right? It's probably going to be a retest. Boom. Came back. Touched trend line. Bounced right off of it. Beautiful move from buyers. And once again, once you get familiar with this, like I can't tell you what idea you know what I mean? Like as long like your brain will start generating ideas as you watch the tape more, as you kind of follow the way the markets move more, looking for structures more, right? Knowing that structures don't usually just break and then go really willy-nilly, right? There's always a break and then a retest, right? Always a break and then a retest. All right. And so let's continue to watch. I like the idea of a 5 minute close above 67 to go long and potentially try and take out this trend line here, get back into our structure. And then short, we're still looking for a 5 minute close inside of here. We're on the 1 minute chart right now. So I'm going to move us back to our 5 while we're waiting for these conditions. Oh, let's see if we got the close because that's at 30. We're getting another 5 minute candle right now. Nope, couldn't quite do it. Right. But this is what I mean. This is how crazy this market is. And if I'm too quick to just jump into anything that I see without having, you know, whatever strict structures or strict rules I have, look at this. All right. You're like, oh, we're going. That's a 10-point candle. Right. And we're talking about these delta rules and you're right. 20 cents per dollar move on the like, bro, that's 10 points in one candle. That got taken out of delta if you entered at 60, right? You're at 67 now. It's a lot of money gone. So it's important to just wait. 5 minute close will give you the signal if it's meant to be. And if not, guess what? You're just gonna look for a different trade. So once again, we got to wait for our 5 minute close. The thing I don't mind about this is even if this 5 minute close does go test this up here, well, guess what? I just now got rid of all the anxiety of having to wonder if we're going to break this trend line or not. So I never mind. Like, don't ever think that you're going to miss a trade. The market is full of trades. Any questions as of now? So I got a really good feeling that we're going to bounce though. Just seeing this oversold all day. And buyers have not been afraid. Like we've seen some crazy moves over the last few weeks, really. But let's see what they want to do if they can get some momentum. Ask away if you guys have any questions while we're waiting for the signal.
Are you looking at the candles at all? Like how they're formed and formulated?
Yes. Right, like this was a very bullish candle. That's why, I spent like a few minutes talking about it, right? And we can see how, right, how that transpired. Right, so candlesticks themselves definitely do have a they register different things in the markets. Right, and they can tell you different things. Like this was a very bullish candle. Right, and we're seeing the response to that bullishness in the next candle, right? And that's what you have to understand sometimes, is that every candle, once it's printed, right, that print right at the close gets registered by algos all over the world. You know what I mean? And analyzing that one candle. And then, right, if it was a buying candle, well, then if it's a selling algo and it sees a buying candle, what does the selling algo do? It kicks in, right? Because if it's a buying candle, well, it's the selling algo's job to defend. If it's a selling candle, it's the buyer's job to defend, right? So in this candle, this tells us buyers were on the offensive, right? If the sellers don't step in the next candle, what happens as a result of this candle? Boom. Right, and so the market is a constant move and counter move, offensive move and defensive move, right? It's a constant pin, whatever, like battle.
Push pull battle.
Yeah, push pull back, exactly. Yeah, right, with each team trying to take ground. All right, there's two parts of that, right? Sometimes I have to defend my ground, right? And other times I can go on the offensive and take more of your ground. Right, and so candlesticks are essentially telling you that story. Now where they are also matters, right? Like this trend line, if you notice, is one that we had found on the 1 minute chart just with the recent bullishness. Right here. Right, and so to see that 5 minute candle, right, what did it do? Sucked all the way down to here and pulled all the way back up and closed above the trend line. Right, that was a healthy defensive move from the buyers. All right, at first it was a defensive move from the sellers, like nah, and then the buyers, right, came back in and were like yes. So a statement move from the buyers. That's why I said I think we might get a bounce, right? Looking at the candlesticks, looking at higher lows being formed, looking at recently oversold, swing the pendulum towards overbought again, right? So there's quite a few things that are telling us, okay, this could go bullish, right? And we could try and break back into this structure, or at the very least go to retest it. 35. Let's see where we closed at. These guys keep getting really close to breaking this. All right, but look at how our 39.67 level is holding up. This is how you know you have good levels, right? Do the candles that come past that interact with it, and does it, right? Do we have closes on it or opens on it or wicks on it? And yeah, the last 20 minutes, 39.67 has been a very, very big resistance for us. So does that make us more confident in hey, if we close over 67, we could probably go, because look at all the sellers defending this level. Buyers defending this level down here. Gives us really a great look at our consolidation. And we really have two signals here, right? Close over 67, we can go long, and a close over under 60, we can go short. Because the market spent the last 40 minutes consolidating in this range. But once again, now we got to wait for the signal. Nothing happens without the signal. I make sure I have my phone on me. This contract's ready though, because when it happens, I don't want to miss. Okay, so quick idea about our logic, right? So we have a bullish trend on our micro levels, and then this candle right here closed outside of our trend line. You notice it? So it's a 5 minute close outside of the trend line. Right, so that's the beginning of your signal. from there, right, and we've kind of put the conditions together already, right? We like the 60 level, breaking that, or this 57 level, or sorry, 67 level. Now we're watching the buyers come back in right now. Buyers close over 67, reclaim this trend line. We're gonna go for a little ride back up into this channel. So let's see what she wants to do. All right, but that's just, 5-minute close outside of this. We would look down that 1 minute and we would have seen it dumping. We may have tried to look short if we didn't already have a stipulation for where we're going to go short at, which is under 60. All right, 67 coming up. We got 2 minutes left on this 5-minute candle. Ideally, I want to see 67 taken out and us back into this trend line. There we go. One minute left. Look at them sellers. Told y'all, man, them last 2 minutes on those 5-minute candles, last 2 minutes are always the crazy ones. Where it looks like it's gonna do one thing, and then in that last 2 minutes, it can easily look entirely different. Went from being a very bullish candle to not very bullish at all. I really think buyers are going to try and pop this though, but they're letting that trend line get farther and farther away. Double check my 1 minute. Feel like we may have given us another trend line. They're trying. See our RSI has buyers coming in. Price action has buyers coming in. They trying to trap these bulls right now. Or bulls are gonna try and make a move back into our structure. The only thing that tells us is price action, bro. Going for another close over 67, trying to do it. Looks like buyers are gonna have to get more aggressive though if they want to break this. And for my technical analysis junkies. Here you go.
So does that whole structure look like a pendant to you?
This right here. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And so we can do a couple things with this pendant now that we have it. 56 to 67. So what is that? 10 points, right? So we can say 67 can get us into this 77 range, which is right at the top of our other supply right here. And yeah, this is why you wait, because sometimes, right, if you wait, market's going to give you a structure. Most of the time, if you don't see a structure, it's because the market is busy creating one. Right, but we can actually see and get more confirmation here. Okay, if we break above this pendant, we can easily get the 10 points or you know, we got high potential to get the 10 points necessary on a breakout. 2 minutes left on this candle. Now, if we break this trend line to the downside, 5-minute close outside, then we can go test the low of this structure. If we break the structure, 10 points down from 56 gives you 46, right? Right at our level right here. Now I got the most actionable signal in the markets. Congratulations. All right, we've only had one signal since before then, right? Which is our break of the hourly structure, which was a nice dump off. But this is essentially our second signal here, if we get it. One minute left on this candle. Let's see if buyers can eke it out. Let's go to our 5 minutes so we got a good perspective of it. Okay, somebody asked me about candles earlier. What's our candles telling us about this structure? Talk to me. What are our candles telling us?
Price keeps getting rejected to me within the structure.
67, reject.
Mm.
These are all 5-minute candles. Boom, 5-minute close, still in structure. Okay, getting perfect. And getting real tight. All right, and that's ideally what we like to take, right? Is once things get right, we like to take consolidation into expansion. Ruh-roh. All right, and we were already kind of getting that story, right? Rejection all up here. Clear structure. Look at baby. And that's why I said, right? Like you can take this principle into 1 minute. Right, if you did, you'd be looking entry. You'd be looking for entry now, as long as you know, you may be waiting on a retest here to see what happens if buyers try and pull this back up. But as long as you're not getting much retracement, you'd be looking to start to scale in. Looks like buyers are already starting to retrace that. That's why I like to wait for 5-minute closes. All right, because these deltas on this whiplashy ass market is not fun. Look at them. That's why you wait for your 5s, guys. This is a very bullish move, though. If we get right, talk about candles. Okay, huge dumpy candle, almost completely engulfed by buyers. Almost, not quite. Got a little bit of a wick up here, but right. So this is, remember we talked about right, buyers and sellers, right? In every candle, huge bearish candle, right? You would think, oh, that's going to activate sellers, right? But you can't forget that buyers have to defend, right? And so that candle prints, every single buying algo in existence is like, right, has this trend line, has the break of this trend line, the close of this break of this trend line, and is like, no, activate. Still looks like it wants to go up personally. The way these buyers bucked that price action just now. But we will wait for our close. We got 3 minutes left on this candle. Hardest part about trading. Stick to your plans. I like these 39.85s. I think those are the ones I'm going to take if we break. Also knowing that, right, price target's going to be around this, the 76 range on ES, which price difference on ES and SPX right now is probably like 10 points. Let's double check real quick. Yep, SPX is at 59. ES is at 67. Yeah, so about 10 points. All right, 1 minute left on this 5-minute close. Give us our view back. Oh, they're trying. Let's see if they can pull it out. Oh, there we go. There we go, buyers. I don't know how many seconds are left on this minute. But be ready for entry. 5-minute close above. See, that's our level. That's our close. Let's go. All right. Fill me. All right. Filled at 4:15. Be nice. Be nice. Let's go. All right. I'm targeting our trend line right here. I don't need us to get all the way to this level here. Let's just hit this trend line. Already had sellers really try and go on an attack on this trend line. Could not close below it. Come on, buyers. Go on the offensive. All right, and you'll notice the thing I like about this, look, how we had bodies close all lower. This is the first body that closed over 67 as well. Now we just needed to be nice to us. 3.5. All right, it's about to, I might get stopped out. Stop loss is at 3.25. Hopefully buyers can come back with this. Come on, buyers. Keep holding these, right? Trend of higher lows here. We need that to continue. Cannot create a lower low. Do, 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 do. Come on, pop above our trend line. Don't let them do that to you, buyers. You've been putting in work. .5. I can't let another like point or two go out, or else I'm gonna get stopped out of this position. Come on. Come on, buyers. There we go, babies. Come on. Come on. Get that trend line. There we go. Come on. Push. Break our next one. There we go. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Back to break even. 4.1. Boom. Price opened up. Come on. Go. Trend line. Not that trend line. This trend line. And then it just becomes fun. All right. I already have my wrist out there. You know what I mean? Stop loss, profit target. Now it's just all right, you're gonna play out or not. But I like to talk to the markets while that happens. It's a thing. But if buyers can't break this, it's probably gonna pull back down and then try and rage up. I wish I would do this now though. Come on. Make me look good for YouTube. Come on, buyers, defend. Our TTM on 1 minute. You see how we're in a squeeze? All right, and we've been buy side for like, you know, a good almost hour. Ugh, it's gonna suck if this starts to pull sell side. I need buyers to defend here, which means we need to get aggressive. Otherwise, right? Otherwise, this is gonna go into a sell cycle on 1 minute, which could potentially bring buyers back to low of day. Come on. Don't do that. This candle might kick me out. Yep. 3.1. I'm like, yeah, I told myself 3.25 is stop loss on this. All right, trying to hold. I'm gonna wait for this candle close. With this candle close under 3.2, I'm out. Yep, we're out. Dang it. All right. So that one did not happen. Sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't. Still going to continue to look. We have two signals still here, right? That 5 minute close over 67 and 5 minute close under 60. So we're in there now. Let's go back to our 5 minute. Because it looks like that downside signal might be the one to trigger. We're really close to breaking out, but close doesn't matter. Oh my gosh, look at that. She went for the downside. Can't win them all, guys. But the most important part is getting the fuck out. These contracts are now at 2.5. And so just as scalpers, right? It's like, okay, if the move's not going for me, I got to be very strict on what that exit is. And whatever it is what it has to be, because a lot of times if you keep creating logic around holding for longer periods of time, all that's going to happen is this contract is going to continue to deteriorate. Right now it might come back, but I'll get it on a comeback. I'm not going to sit here and try and like hold this throughout all this shenanigans. And so as of now, we're waiting on a 5-minute close under 60. Right, because we know, and especially with our structure now officially breaking to the downside, that means we could probably get into the supply at 47. All right, no time to cry, no time to sit there and woe is me. All right, okay, trade's not going for you, get the hell out of it. And for me, usually my stop loss is around $1 per contract. All right, and then we look for our next trade, which this is looking really good to continue down to 47. Any questions about a losing trade now that we just had one on live with you?
So Algo, did you had a mental stop, right?
Yeah,
Or did
I
you
mean,
have
my usually like I do one of two. Like I'll if necessary, I'll put the stop on. But if I know I'm not doing anything except watching the price action, then yeah, usually I'll run my stop at about $1. Usually it's $1 per contract, right? So I got that contract at 4.5, right? And that's why I was like, all right, around 3.25. I know that's where I'm really not going to be really tolerant of this. We're at 3.25, right, with this candle close here. So that was outro.
Got you. Like I'm never happy to see nobody lose, but like usually when you watch people trade, they always show like the winning, and you losing this trade was like some real shit, man. So
Oh, well, it's following all the like that's the thing, right? Like
yeah,
nothing is ever 100%, right? No,
yeah, what you did wasn't on no faking shit. So that's what I'm talking
oh,
about.
bro, yeah. It's just like, bro, people lose trades in the markets. The key is like not, you know what I mean? The key is not losing more than you can stomach.
Exactly. And then seeing you like stick to that stop loss that you had set, like that's the most important thing that I got out of this. For
Yeah,
real.
and if you didn't notice, so 3.2, right? So you notice, right? Usually I like about a $1, right? Well, notice I got him at, I got the contracts at 4.15, right? And I'm like, okay, 3.25, I need to be about here, right? I didn't even give it the full 100 because I know myself, right? If I put that stipulation on 100, guess what it's going to go to? 110,
Right.
120.
Which is how I got clapped many a time.
Let me undercut myself. Let me give it 80, 90. Knowing, okay, max, right? Because once it's around that, then I'm like, all right, let's, you know what I mean? It's either going to bounce right here with this extra little 10 or 20 cent buffer that I gave it, or it's not.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's good to know when to pull the trigger, because sometimes you're like, oh, it may come back for me, but you just gotta honor that mental stop loss.
As a scalper, you have to, because every second you spend in a trade you're not supposed to be in, there's another one that you probably should be in. All right. And so you can't waste your time on losers like that. I'm gonna add these 39.25s here because we just got a 5-minute close under 39.60. Let me see. 5-minute is so close to oversold though. It's kind of gross. But structure break. All right, let's do a 39.54. Right. You see how they bounce right on this level. Even like so let's go for even like a 1-minute close under 39.54. You get a 5-minute, that's cool, but with this kind of selling pressure, you get a little fleshy right here. But cool, I'm glad you guys were able to learn from even that. Because it's just the truth of the matter. Like anybody that tells you they don't lose in the markets is a liar.
Yeah, and they make it seem like it's 100% every time. Like they're winning probabilities.
Yeah,
so
never.
like when you go through all those losers, you be like, man, what the hell am I doing wrong?
Yeah. And something, right? And then that's where trust, like having spent the time to develop an edge comes in, right? Because if I know my edge works 80% of the time, then am I going to panic at a 20% that it doesn't work?
Right.
Not at all. Right? Because it's proven itself to me over and over and over again, both in winning and losing, to where I can create a, my own bias on the edge, which is, yeah, it'll work just about 80, 90% of the time. but there will be times where it doesn't. We got our close above, our 5-minute close above 67, clear structure. Didn't want to, just couldn't push the rest out. All right, looks like we're gonna enter puts though. So 3, we got 2 minutes left on this candle. Let's see if we can get, if we can stay under 54, the chances that we can get to 47 is pretty high. Yeah, I had a feeling it was going to continue. Remember earlier, I just said, man, it could even be just a 1-minute close, all we need. But I'm gonna still wait for our 5. We'll keep playing our strategy as we have all day. Oversold on the 1-minute, just hit. It's really the main reason why I was like, all right, let's wait for our 5. So you see how close to the oversold we are, right? Last thing you want to do is be entering sell on oversold. Because who activates when oversold is there? Buyers. Oh, 4, 1 minute left on this candle. 39.20s look good. See if it gives it to us. Oh, 5 and a close below. Watching retracement, but so far looks pretty good. Ideally, you want to see the candle starting to move back down to where buyers recently defended. We're in on our 1-minute chart right now. Just gonna wait it out. See if we keep getting resistance at this 54 or 55 level. Yep, no cue to enter yet. Also, TTM starting to show yellow, which means buyers are trying to come back in. Oh, cool. 39.25's got cheaper. Looks like that's where we'll target. Yep. Always pay attention to your 1 minute before entry. All right. If you're oversold, it's usually a sign you don't want it. If you're going short on oversold. Eventually in the look, maybe next week I'll introduce, what we would consider like bounce trades, right? And that's where you look for places like oversold to take buy. Look for oversold to take buy. Look for overbought to take sell. But we'll get into that probably next week or so. Right now, we're kind of focusing on breakout trading, but bounce trading is it's pretty much just the opposite, right? So instead of thinking the structure is going to break, you take the position that it's going to bounce, especially if you get like oversold conditions or overbought conditions on structures. Want to get us at least one winning trade today before we get out. I know we're a little bit over time. We're supposed to be in only for about an hour. Any questions while we're watching price action?
Maybe this is setting up for an afternoon thing. I think I saw something about Biden and Yellen speaking around lunchtime.
Yeah, they speak at like 1 though. 1 on East Coast time.
Okay.
All right, 39.60 coming up. We know that was our previous level of resistance. So let's see how buyers react to that level. But that was our initial right. That's initially what we were looking for, a 5-minute close below, and we got the flush when it happened. All right, seeing some rejection at 39.60. Yeah, pretty clean so far. Let's watch this 5-minute close though, because if we can break back into this, look at just to show you, right? Look at how fluid price action has been in this 60 to 67 zone. Right, you've had candles wiping through this zone time and time again. So the chances that if we get a break close over the 60, right, bouncing back on this, that we could go back and test the top of this structure, start to get increased. It's still 4 minutes left in this candle, so we got plenty of time to just watch. But once again, it's all about being able to, like, can I create a story, right? My story of the markets. All right, a little bit of a pennant again, right? Pennant here. Got about something like a similar structure going on right here. So let's see what it does if buyers can finally take this to the upside, or if we break back down again, potentially finally get to our 47 zone. Look above at 60, look above and fail. Interesting price action so far, but we still haven't liquidated this trend line, right? We're not going to go short or look to go short unless this trend line is liquidated. Another look above 39.60. All right, we got what, 2 minutes left on this candle. All right, just looking to the left, we see how fluid price action is in this zone. So not really surprising that you're able to get a nice pop out of back into it. Multiple candles have crossed this whole zone. Oh, look at her. All right, that's your 5 minute close above 60. What calls do we have? 3.4. All right, still got some space still overbought. I want to see if we're gonna go to retest this structure here or not. So one of two things will happen that'll prompt entry: break of this, or looking to enter to retest of this and a bounce. 39.75s look good. A little bit higher on the delta, but that's never a bad thing if the move's going for you. All right, we're gonna go in. I like how sell it buyers are keeping this up. Feel me? All right, filled it 4.7. I'm willing to take a retest here, not willing to go back into this zone here. I will take a retest though, if it's necessary. Come on, I know you want to. I know you're trying to. We need a nice order to wipe out these highs. Come on, there you go. There you go. Algo starting up. Come on, there we go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. I like to watch 1 minute candles because you can see how the orders and counter orders are coming in. And so boom, boom, boom. You can see it. You already saw the buyers coming in. All right, let's go. 4.7, 5.3. Shedding some weight. I'm hoping this holds. Come on, bounce back one more time. All right, I like 5.1. That's not too bad. All right, I have one left of these. It brought me back to break even at least on the day. So as long as this can continue to our top of our trend line, then positive for the day. Amen. 5.3 from 4.7. Nice, nice, nice. All right, we're really close to the 67 zone and really close. Oh, let's go. Oh, let's go. Let the contract catch up and we are out of these. Contract catch up and we are outro. All right, fill me 6.3 out. 4.7, 6.3. 3 minutes. Let's go. There we go. Whew. I'm like, is it me? I'm just kidding. Right. Once you trust your edge, you just follow the damn edge. All right. And that's the tricky part, right? Because it's like your brain has to protect you, right? Your brain has to tell you, bro, this didn't work last time. You sure you want to do it? Right? You have to, if you don't have the confidence in an edge, if you haven't spent enough time working an edge, seeing an edge, even if you're just playing it out mentally, bro, even if you're just like, you know what I mean? Like just watching the market, but just like the act of, does this work? Did this work this time? Did this work this time? How many times did it work first? How many times did it not work? Right? And it can create a confidence in a strategy, which is right. It makes you bulletproof. But that's once again the hardest part about trading is, am I doing the right thing? Right? If it's not process oriented, if it's not something that is almost a flow state, like I don't know any sports players, right? Like your free throw routine, right? Every time you went to the line, it was the same thing. Right, your layup. Every time you did right, the same thing. 3-point every time, the same thing. My Venus and Serena's are right. My backhand, same thing. Right, and you're just practicing over and over and over again, and that gains you the confidence when it counts, really, right? So just reviewing this, right? We waited for our 5-minute close above our structure. We had another, right? It was like just like this one, right? Like nothing was different. Got the 5-minute close above it. Boom, that was right here. Because it went and zoomed in on our 1 minute, made sure our RSI was healthy, right? We knew we had some space before we would be overbought. Liked how we didn't really have much retracement, right? If you're a candlestick junkie, you had a higher low, higher low, higher low, right? We create like really what we did right here, and let me just show it to y'all. But it created another pendant right here. Right. And so we used that 5-minute signal, went in on our 1 minute, right? Essentially looked for healthy price action for bullish continuation, right? With higher lows on candles. And then right, entered on this candle here. And well, plow. So cool. We could end on that note.
Yeah, I got to get used to drawing more trend lines like that.
You have to. That is the only
trend lines within the trend lines.
Yeah, it's like if it's all right. So trend, like it's like trying to read a book if there were no spaces and lines, where the words were just random all over the place on the page, and you had to somehow, right, like kind of guide to be able to take it. Yeah, right. There's a reason why there's breaks. There's a reason, right? Those are your trend lines, right? They're telling you this. You can't put the story together without some form of order. Right?
That makes sense.
Trend lines are your order, right? They give you, right? They're letting you kind of peer into what the price action is doing. And actually, once again, for us, be able to tell the story, right? If we, every time we were entering a trade or anything, even when we weren't entering trades, we were still talking possibilities the whole time. Still drawing trend lines the whole time. Why? Because the last story of where, the last question of where could we possibly go is something you're continuously answering throughout the whole day. Right? Usually the first two questions get answered in your daily and your hourly chart. Right, maybe before you enter the markets or before you actually start to do anything. But that last one, that one is kind of the one that you have to keep up with because it's always evolving. It's always changing, right? Where we could go now is different where we could have gone an hour ago. Right. And so, but what changed? The price action. So yeah, that's essentially like, oh, we're getting another flag type type pattern going on right here.
I took that one probably about a minute before you, 95 contracts. So I came out with 33 on that one. Just a smidge.
She said, I took a minute before you. Right?
Maybe about 30 seconds.
Yeah, but that's good. That means you're on the right track. That's it. If you're beating me to the punch, like that's exactly it. Like that's what we should be doing. Right? You and me should be seeing the same thing in the markets all the time. Right? And so, I'm like, I'm very adamant about this right now. Like, I want, I want baby algos all over option snipers. Because like the shit works. And so I commend you, right? The balls to be like, I ain't waiting for him. We going. But right. But that's we call that conviction. We call that self-sufficiency. We call that like, you know what I mean? It's nice to have me. I like to think I'm valuable, but at the end of the day, I don't want y'all needing me. How do we do that? We have to make you guys self-sufficient. You're right. We have to spend more time lecturing than we actually do trading. Right? Because we have to implement the theory and the framing of our mentalities, right? And then once it plays out into the real world, now it's just more conviction, right? Now I'm more confident in it because now it's like I got the theory, but then I see the application, right? And once you can get both of those combined, that's where that sweet spot happens, where you're on your way to mastery. So great session. Yeah, it was really, really fun. I like these Fridays.
Yeah, I appreciate this.
Yeah, I appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much.
All right. And then
And if you and listen,
ahead.
and if you have to say something more than once, don't feel no type of way about it.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I've been trading people on how to trade for the last like 2 years straight, like damn near every day, answering some, whether it's like a very fundamental question or advanced, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's kind of what I do. So I have no issues with, and it just to your point, the last point that I was going to make was patience, right? So I want you guys to kind of just review the day and think about how every time we had a chance to just do something without that 5-minute close, or do something, maybe we got the 5-minute close, but we went in on the 1 minute, we were just right, any of those times, and we didn't do that, right? We waited for our strategy and our system, like it played out. And even if it didn't play out, at least I know I stuck to the plan. That's usually the hardest part in trading, is like you feel even more shitty if it doesn't work out and you have no idea why, because you just went on a whim, right? At least here, hey bro, it's just that 15-20% of the time that the edge doesn't work. It's okay. Right? Versus, oh shit, maybe I should stop trading. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe right? That's all just a lack of rules. And then at either having the rule or making the decision to adhere to the rule. Right? But as long as you got your rules in place and you're sticking to those, the loss isn't even a loss. You just brush it off, look for your next signal and go. Right? And then, like I said, like I was down at down like $100 out of this. Right? But now I'm up 130 on the day. Right? I try and just be light just so I can maintain kind of talking to you guys and talking through things rather than like, having a lot of leverage on my port when I trade with you guys on live. But it's because, this is more of a teaching thing, not daily go make money in the markets thing. So, but yeah, and then once you do that, boom, now I can scale this, right? Instead of taking that one contract, I can take 5, I can take 10, I take 95. Shit. Deal. All right. Well, I'm gonna get us out of here. We're coming up on 8:30 my time. Any last questions before we go?
I do got a question about that XSP. I used to play that, and then I noticed like the speed of Think or Swim wasn't matching.
It's not that. It's called illiquidity.
Oh, okay. Because
Mhm.
like the move had happened, but the
And then
contract
you're
ain't
waiting
doing
for the
nothing.
contract to update. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's when you play XSP to make sure you set limit orders for your exit, because what happens with XSP contracts is they gap up. So it'll go from
right,
being like worth like 30 cents, and then like one candle, you're waiting for it, and then it bumps to like 55 cents. And you're like, damn.
right.
And then you're
I
like,
thought
even
that was
another,
Think or Swim the whole time,
nah,
bro. I was
nah,
like,
that's
man,
not
I ain't
think or
fucking with
swim.
this no.
That's liquidity, right? And so that's why it's very important on XSP contracts to take very close to the money contracts.
Okay.
And also here, let's bring it up real quick.
Cause I was in a play, that boy ran up to like $200. Next second, I was down to 20. I'm like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, and it got right. See, look at these gaps, right? Well, a contract would go from 126 to 267, right? Like kind of stuff. The bid and ask is just why excuse me, right? Like these you would want to stay away from because the bid and ask is very wide. These are healthy, bid and ask is very close.
Okay.
Right? Even this one that's in the money, bid and ask is very close. But once you get right here, you see how bid and ask gets wacky.
Yeah.
Yep. Also, yeah, like I said, with XSP, you're gonna want to look for a good amount of volume, right? Like, and usually you're closer to the money contracts will have that for you.
So
But
those will move better as far as like not with the gapping and stuff. It won't be as bad as when you try to get a little cheaper one.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like I like the movement of these when they move.
Yeah.
It's like a SPY contract. But yeah, you do have to pay attention to the fact that XSP, still not a lot of people know about it. So it's not very liquid yet. Honestly, I think that XSP may even surpass SPY, maybe give it like 5 years or so, as people realize that this follows SPX to the T instead of SPY, which is all kinds of off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
like it. It's just that one thing had like kind of turned me off from it. But
yeah,
the way it moved, that thing is serious, man.
Yeah, it moves. Yeah, it moves the closest to SPX contracts. Like it's meant to mimic it just at a 100th of it. And so like, yeah, so it's clean, but yeah, you do have to make sure, okay, is my right volume on my contract is at least like over 500. All right. So it's like out of these, this is probably the one I'd be the most comfortable taking. Right. I might go for this one. 251 volume's not very high, and open interest, which is the amount of trends that contract has been traded only 60 times, right? I'd rather have something like this where it's been traded 600 times today with a good open interest and volume, right?
And that's what I took too,
yeah,
by the way, Maurice. That's what I just played for that.
Yeah. And how did it move?
That was the one I was saying I got a 396 call and it was $95. And that's the one I made 0.33 on.
Boom, right? So imagine that, and that's the beautiful part. So like just in theory here, if that was a SPX contract, it would have been about $900 that you would have paid, and you would have made $300 on that move.
Yeah, I think I might go
right.
back.
The reason why I like this, it translates well for my brain into SPX too, right? Because once again, it's about like scaling, right? So let's say, right, I do want to be lower risk, so I play XSP. Well, when I'm ready, I can scale into SPX, and the way the contract moves isn't going to be too, what I mean? It's not going to surprise me too much. It ain't going to move crazier than this. But it's just, it's a different beast than SPY. It just really is. And so, I do enjoy XSP, especially for low risk. Late day, oh my goodness, late day XSP. Right, because remember, late day, if they just hit all the contracts, they get cheap as shit. Right, it's like a 10-point, right? And so a 10-point move in SPX is equivalent to a 1 point move in here. Right. And so, like late day, if you can catch those, right, ragers or those dumping moves, right, these can go to these very fast because, your delta start, right? Look at the delta on them, right? It's another reason why I like XSP. I can get access to better deltas at a way cheaper price.
Yep.
Right? I'm at 0.4.
But it is better to set a limit for those
Limit,
bid asks
definitely,
and then
yes,
try to get the
definitely
joint ask on it.
straight up. Yeah. Like definitely try and limit for your entries and your exits on this because just because of the spreads sometimes and they're a little wacky. You don't want to get bad fills. So I will say if you're using XSP, use limit orders. But that also means, guess what? When you're taking profit, right? I got to be able to say, hey, I'm going to sell this at this price. Not, hey, let's see what it can get to.
Not with that.
Yeah, not with this one. I learned that. That's why I had stopped trading it myself, but I had to start working with how it actually moves instead of what I wanted it to do.
It did the same thing to me. I'm like, bro, what the, like I get filled at market. I'm like, this is not market.
Yep. Blink of an
But I'm
eye.
like, okay. I got to limit and then push that plus sign like once or twice and then push send. Okay. Yeah, but cool. So I'm actually really glad that we went over that because I don't want to be telling people just to go XSP blindly. Like you have to know the caveats of it. Which everything has its pros and cons, you know what I mean? But just is what it is, something you have to work around. As long as you have the knowledge though, we can do it, right?
Yep.
Cool. Let's see where we ended up. All right, we ended up somewhere in the in-between, right? But and just last note, right? Think about when we talked about looking back on the left side of this chart, right? So a lot of times people miss the analysis of this, and I want to make sure we go through this real quick before we leave. Right. And I said, look how fluidly this zone moves. Right, 5-minute candles, and you can have 5-minute candles that can cross through the whole range, including the one that dumped out of it. Right. So when we were at this zone here, right, and seeing bullish action and knowing to the left of us, price action is cut through this like butter. Right. These aren't little choppy candles. These are wide ranging candles that have flown through up, down, up, down, up, down in that area. Right. So when we're getting back to that area and I look here and I see how many times we've cut through that area, once again, it just adds to my confidence. It says, okay, the potential, right, for us to cut through this is actually pretty high because it's happened a bunch of times already. So that's one little nuance there that, I want to make sure that we were able to really digest because, the first question of, where do we come from? Right. That can also give you confidence to answer the last question when you're answering where could we possibly go, right? I can compare those candles and say, well, we've flown through this area. So when it comes to where could we possibly go, could we fly through it again? I could say yes. All right. So just, final note when it comes to just kind of analysis points, that was a big one for us in the confidence of being able to get to the 67 zone.
Okay.
All right, but I'm gonna close this out. We're over time now. But you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Happy trading. Hit me up in Discord. You guys seen I've been like crazy active in there. But if you have any other questions or anything like that, feel free to ask.
Wait a minute. I have one more question before you go. So you said you're starting your training classes this Saturday, is that right?
Yeah. I have a couple new offerings. So I have I want to do a Thursday prep session if you guys want to. We didn't do them last week or this past Thursday though, because I don't think anybody knew about it. And then Saturdays we have 2 sessions now. There's a beginner session and a advanced session. The beginner session really goes through just kind of fundamental pieces of trading, candlesticks, things like that. So if you would want or need a refresher on that. Beginners also goes through trend lines. Beginners goes through supply and demand as well, right? Just all kind of the very basic things in the market.
Okay,
the
what time are you starting and how long will it be? Like how
those
many
are
hours?
they are, I have it in the link, but the beginners class starts at 9:30 Eastern time. It's
Okay.
pretty much like you know, kind of do the same regimen as if you were waking up and going into the markets.
Mhm.
And then the advanced class is at 12:30 Eastern time, and they're 2-hour sessions.
Okay.
And then Friday, and then Sundays we have the SPX master class again. I brought that back, which is only going to focus on trading SPX and scalping pretty much.
Okay. Cool.
Dance I'm
Thank you so
excited
much.
about though,
Appreciate that.
because I got a couple strategies. I know like most of you guys have learned the Billy bands before, but the Billy bands, I have another strategy that I want to introduce you guys to. It's a scalping strategy using the 50. So I want to introduce that this week in advanced. But yeah, get at me in Slack. Let me know which class you guys want to attend, either the beginner, the advanced, or the SPX masterclass on Sunday.
Right. Or we can hit you up in the DMs too, right?
Yeah, hit me up either in DMs or in I'd prefer Slack, just so I
Well,
know that you're from, you know what I mean? I it's gonna be easier for me to just go in there and just go through every DM and give you guys the links. So
yeah,
if you
well, it's
can't-
just that you've got a lot of people listening, and if they're not in Slack, they're gonna have to hit you through DM. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that part
Yeah,
too.
right,
I haven't even
dude?
looked at
Yeah.
YouTube. Thank you if you joined us on YouTube. We're gonna be doing this every Friday. Yeah, I haven't. I don't even know how many people are watching. I'm like nervous now.
Okay.
I mean, there's something to get clapped earlier. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
That's the
Last clue,
applause. That's the applause.
right? Last clue, we could potentially get a head and shoulders forming here. If we create a base at 60 and close back over 67, boom, 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 and that'll push us right back into our structure. So pay attention to that if we get a bounce around the 60 zone.
All right, cool. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
All right, peace, guys. Good night. Good day.